You know that feeling, right? When you're just fuming, you're frustrated, and you know exactly who to blame. But what if the real reason you're so angry isn't what you think it is? Today, we're going to dig into a really simple story that has a huge lesson about this exact feeling. It's called The Parable of the Empty Boat. So let's just start with this question right here. Really think about it for a second. The last time you got genuinely mad, where did that feeling actually come from? And look, if you're like me, your first thought is to point outwards, right? It was that guy who cut you off in traffic. It was your coworker who dropped the ball. It was the Wi-Fi that decided to die 2 minutes before a huge meeting. We're so quick to blame something or someone else. But what if that's not really the whole picture? There's this ancient story that gives us a totally different way of looking at all this. And honestly, it's a perspective that could completely change how you deal with all those little frustrations. Okay, so picture this. The story starts with a monk who wants nothing more than pure, absolute peace and quiet so he can meditate. To get it, he rows his little boat way out into the middle of this huge, still lake. It's the perfect spot for some solitude. And for hours, it's perfect. He gets exactly what he came for. Nothing but silence, deep focus. The kind of total calm we can only dream about. And then, right in the middle of this perfect quiet, bump, a little jolt, something's hit his boat. And just like that, his perfect sanctuary is broken. Now, he's a monk, so he tries to just let it go. He keeps his eyes closed, tries to brush it off as just a minor thing. But then, another bump, a little harder this time. And that tiny little flicker of annoyance, well, it starts to catch fire. It's growing into real, solid irritation. And finally, that's it. He can't hold it in anymore. That irritation just boils over into pure rage. All that peaceful focus is gone, and it's replaced by this one furious thought. Who in the world dares to interrupt me? So he's made up his mind. He's gonna let this person have it. He swings his head around, opens his eyes, takes a big breath, ready to just unload on whoever was so careless. And he sees the boat that hit him, but there's nobody in it. It's completely empty, just drifting along with the current. And this is the moment the whole story hinges on. Seeing that empty boat, the monk has this lightning bolt of self-realization. Everything about how he understands himself and his anger just completely flips on its head. And here's the core lesson. He suddenly got it. His anger wasn't injected into him by some clumsy person. The anger was already there, inside him, just waiting. The boat didn't create the anger. It just provoked it. It just brought it to the surface. And this gives us this brilliant idea we can call the empty boat concept. It's the understanding that the things that happen around us are, by themselves, totally neutral. They're just empty boats. They don't have any anger inside them. They can only trigger the anger that we are already carrying around. So, okay, it's a great story, but you're probably wondering, how does this help me when I'm stuck in traffic or my computer is acting up? How do we take this idea and actually use it in our day-to-day lives? Well, after that moment on the lake, the monk came up with a kind of mantra for himself. Whenever he'd feel that old irritation starting to bubble up, he'd just tell himself, it's just an empty boat. The anger is inside me. And this wasn't about blaming himself. It was about taking ownership of his own reaction. We can actually break this down into a super simple 4-step technique for ourselves. First, just notice the feeling as it starts. Step 2, figure out what the trigger was. What's the boat that just bumped into you? Third, and this is the most important part, you consciously tell yourself that's an empty boat. And finally, step 4, just remind yourself that the reaction, the anger, is coming from inside you, not from the boat. And when you really get this, it is so empowering. That person who cuts you off, that frustrating piece of technology, that critical comment, none of them actually have the power to create your anger. They're just triggers. They are all just empty boats. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. The next time you feel that flash of anger or frustration, just pause. What in your life, starting tomorrow, are you going to choose to see as just an empty boat?